And so the conversation then became, we have so much built up in pre-tax dollars. Do we start getting into this IRMA territory now to try to get more money moved over to Roth to give ourselves some tax diversification?
Welcome to the Wise Money Stories, our monthly deep dive into a financial planning scenario, a real-life planning strategy with the financial planner that made it happen, all designed to help you take your next wise step in your financial life. My name is Mike Bernard. With me, special guest, Tayler Rhoda. Tayler is one of our certified financial planners on the Korhorn Financial Group team. Appreciate you being back in the studio, Tayler.
Thank you for having me.
Tayler, you don't need to say thank you. Tayler has not really wanted to be on the program, but I've been begging her. She's a fantastic advisor, serves about 100 individuals. She's one of our specialists in retirement planning. All of our CFPs are great guides when it comes to retirement planning, but Taylor's really developed a specialty there as well as tax planning. And so thanks for being on the program.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
All right. So planning is all about being proactive, not predicting the future. No one can do that, even Tayler. But it's more so scenario planning, I think is how I describe it. Some folks describe financial planning as building a map. I hate that analogy.
Yep.
What do you think?
So planning is not about fortune telling, right? It's more about running through different what if scenarios that could happen in your financial life. So when it's referred to as a roadmap, I think of, there's only one path we can take, right? Along the way, we're going to find detours and forks in the road that can come up. And so planning is really about preparing for those alternative routes that you might have to take.
I completely agree. Yep. I've trained you well. Just kidding. I do. I completely agree. And if it was a map, I mean, life changes all the time. And are you prepared for those inevitable but really unforeseen changes? Through a proactive planning process, you can be, even though you can't anticipate exactly what will happen or when, you can be more prepared. Because despite even the best laid plans, you're going to get some curveballs. Life is going to adapt, and are you going to be able to stay nimble and adapt as well? And financial planning is where real life, the messiness and the fun and celebrations, real life and finances intersect. And I know the story you have for us today is one where there's a pretty hard curveball that's thrown at these folks. So why don't you get into the story?
So the couple I want to talk about today, so they're not just a couple that I've served for a while. They've become part of my family. And so they're ones where when I announced my engagement, they had a card to me in the mail and giving me advice and just some well wishes. And so same thing with them. When they received some pretty unfortunate news, I kind of reciprocated for them because that's the relationship that we have. And so this couple, they're in their 70s. And so they just transitioned into retirement a few years ago. So he worked in public service his whole life. And so he's got a pension he's collecting right now. And she worked for a small business. And so these are important aspects of the story because a lot of her retirement savings is now in 401ks or IRAs.
What prompted them to reach out and start working with us?
So they have been clients that have always worked with a professional with their financial life, but it was pretty much limited to investment only. And so they were doing some research as they were entering this new phase of life in retirement they found out what Roth conversions were, but they didn't know how to do them themselves. And so that's when they heard about Korhorn Financial Group and they reached out for an introductory meeting and were able to meet with them and see if we were a good fit or not.
So quote unquote, they had a financial advisor, but they were at least aware that, this individual really just helps with investing. So as we had some tax planning questions, we knew we needed to go to someone else.
Yes.
Oftentimes people don't quite realize that distinction. And so they'll come with some tax ideas to their investment advisor. That's really a financial advisor. But there's no proactive tax planning being done. Okay. So they reached out with Roth conversion stuff and that morphed into, planning relationship.
Yeah. So it turned out to be a really great fit, both for us and for them. And so we worked through the traditional 6 areas of financial planning, the one plan or financial planning wheel you might hear referenced on here. And so we looked at each individual area of present financial position. Protection planning, they were ones where they're self-insured. So when we did our life insurance needs analysis, they were self-insured, so
Great.
didn't need to have life insurance. They had an Indiana Partnership long-term care plan already, so
that's
that
fantastic.
was really fantastic too. Tax planning, we've been doing some really, really cool Roth conversion strategies, taking a look and seeing, okay, well, you're both on Medicare, and so it does matter how much income that we're converting pre-tax to Roth, because in their situation, almost all of their assets were pre-tax.
Yep.
And so that's been a pretty big focus even before I'll talk about kind of the life-altering news that they got. Investment planning, same thing. We were able to identify what their risk tolerance is, but then also taking a look at their retirement plan to say, okay, how much risk do we actually need to take?
Okay, can I ask you, and I don't know this answer, but the investment strategies they were taking, did they need to shift once you put it in perspective of the big picture? Once that one area of their financial life was connected to the other 5 areas of their financial life, did the investment strategies need to shift?
They did, and they actually had to shift pretty dramatically. So there was a lot of cash held within the portfolio, actually over 50%. And so
in the context of their entire financial plan really was out of place, didn't make sense. And you might say, oh, no, well, that was probably a risk management decision. Yeah, but I don't know how you can make great and wise investment strategy decisions without looking at all 6 areas of your financial life. So I didn't know that was going to be an answer, but I just knew that was going to be the answer.
Yeah. So we had to make a pretty big shift, and that was a mindset shift as well. They had been used to seeing, part of their investments fluctuate up and down, but a good amount of it stayed fairly steady. They just earned some interest on it. And so that took a lot of coaching and talking through those scenarios of, hey, if we want our retirement plan to look a certain way, we have to take a certain amount of risk to make that happen.
And then did they have an estate plan? Was that all? That was all set up, right?
They did.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Good. So you just ran through the 6 areas and the condition they were in, and you brought some creative strategies to bring synergy, and then life happened.
So at one of their meetings, so typically after the first year of financial planning, we're meeting with our clients once in the spring and once in the fall. So they waited until their fall meeting to deliver some news that there was a cancer diagnosis with the husband. At this point, they're both very level-headed people. And so we had proactively already gone through their financial plan, and they know, they're in good shape. But what we didn't know is, well, that's if you both live until you're 90, 92, 94. What we didn't know is, well, with the pension that he's collecting, typically there's a reduction in survivor benefits there, and we would lose his Social Security benefit if he had a premature death. Would the surviving spouse still be okay? And so we had to go back to the drawing board and figure out, are we still okay based on the lifestyle that we want to live?
And were they, just curious, their approach, were they fly over, just, tell us it's okay? Or was this a deep dive and let's talk about scenarios? Okay, well, what if something happens immediately? What if something happens in 5 years? I guess, how deep did it get?
They are ones where it was very deep dive. We looked at several different scenarios, and this diagnosis was a couple years ago, and they told me straight up that they appreciated me kind of treading lightly on the emotional side of things, but that they just want to know. They want to know if they need to spend less money now, or if they need to make any sort of changes to make sure that no matter what happens, that they'll both be okay. And so, yes, we went into, what if he passed away next year? What if it's in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years? How does that look differently? Because a big part of their plan is traveling. And I mean, upwards of, tens of thousands of dollars in travel per year. And so, is that something that we front load now while we're still able to travel? Does that still fit within our plan?
Yeah. So the planning work and the strategies created a lot of confidence and reassurance, financial reassurance in the wake of this just awful diagnosis. Did the strategies change at all? And what were some of the strategies? You already mentioned the Roth conversion. Sounds like that's been continuing, but did that shift the planning? And if so, in what ways?
Yep. So the Roth conversion one, that's the one that changed the most. So before we were, maybe doing $50,000 a year, just really trying to keep our taxes at a certain rate. So we needed to stay within the 22% tax bracket, but not wanting to even get close to IRMA territory.
So that's the threshold where your modified adjusted gross income reaches a level where you have to pay a surcharge on your Medicare Part B and Part D. IRMA is income-related monthly adjustment amount. There's acronyms for everything in finance.
And so the conversation then became, we have so much built up in pre-tax dollars. Do we start getting into this IRMA territory now to try to get more money moved over to Roth to give ourselves some tax diversification? So there's different accounts that we can draw from for different needs, but also to reduce those required minimum distributions in the future for the surviving spouse.
And that's what you guys decided to do? I mean, that's a difficult decision. And then also, I think you mentioned, front loading some of the travel and doing some life experiences. I mean, if you're finding yourselves in the story and you're thinking, oh my goodness, if I got that diagnosis or if my folks got that diagnosis, what would I encourage them to do or what would I do? Yeah, you might spend a little bit more. So in your scenario planning, did you show that where, hey, you guys said, or your lifestyle is this, what if we increase it to this for the next 5 years and then it drops, is that something that they did? I mean, Roth conversions as well as sort of bigger lifestyle and more fun?
Yep, definitely. So I showed those exact scenarios in our financial planning software where we run Monte Carlo simulations.
Sounds fun.
Yep.
Just kidding. Just scenario planning.
Yes.
Yeah, scenario planning.
Yep. But it's all cash flow based. And so we can drill down each year and see, okay, if the plan's working with success, can we also drill down and look at which account it's coming from, right? To make sure that our tax planning is working out the way that we want it to. And so, yeah, right now they're traveling a lot more than what we anticipated. And by showing, hey, for the next 5 years, we're taking out a lot more from our portfolio, showing them that and that the plan was still successful, it gave them that confidence and clarity of, yeah, we worked our whole lives to enjoy these dollars. And so we have the confidence and clarity to be able to do that while we still have these good years at our fingertips right now.
Yeah. Sounds like the planning really made an enormous difference. And as we started the show, we talked about the need for working with a CFP, doing comprehensive financial planning, not because they're going to be able to predict the future, but so that you can plan ahead, be proactive, and be prepared when life does throw you some curveballs. Tayler, what would you say to maybe a couple listening or someone listening right now who says, oh, no, I'm not worried about that. I don't have to worry about that. We've got this vision of our retirement and our future. What would you maybe encourage them to do as a first step?
So like in this scenario, we were able to serve them before something happened, right? And so in my role, I serve a lot of widows and widowers, and a lot of the time I don't get to meet with them until a death happens.
Yeah, until the event.
Until there's an event. And so my recommendation would be start working with a certified financial planner today. It's never too early.
Yeah.
Because you never know what could happen tomorrow.
And that planning ahead, even though if you have to take a hard left turn or a big shift, those plans, even before said event, does help you be more prepared to adapt to that life change. So I completely agree. So work with your certified financial planner on that, whether you're dealing with a big health change yourself or some health questions that you don't have answers to yet, or maybe that's the furthest thing from your mind. We'd encourage you to get the planning process started right now. Work with a CFP on that. If you don't have a CFP on your team, you can contact one on our team. You can find us online, Korhorn.com. That's Korhorn with K, wisemoneyshow.com. You can find us there as well, or give us a call, 574-247-5898. All right, there you have it. Go out and take your next wise step in your financial life.